Hello, welcome to the Death by Disney podcast. I'm your host, Adam. It's my mission to watch as many of the Disney films as I'm able to find and give you my review of them so you can decide if you want to spend your time watching these Disney movies. So, the movie for this week is called Melody Time. And this is the synopsis from Wikipedia. Melody Time is a 1948 live-action animated musical anthology film produced by Walt Disney. The 10th Disney animated feature film, it was released to theaters by RKO Radio Pictures on May 27, 1948. Made up of 7 segments set to popular music and folk music, the film is, like Make My Music before it, the popular music version of Fantasia. So I'll get to my review in a moment, but I'd like to give you a little bit of trivia about the movie first. And these are taken from the Internet Movie Database. The segment, The Legend of Johnny Appleseed, is one of the rare Disney animated works based on a historical figure. Johnny Appleseed is the historic nickname of John Chapman, 1774 to 1845, a frontiersman credited with introducing the apple tree to the areas of modern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Ontario, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Kind of crazy to think of Ontario as being a frontier, but that was how the frontier worked. And this is actually pretty interesting, this particular story. So, the real Johnny Appleseed strictly followed his church's dietary doctrine, more on that in a moment. He could not use techniques like grafting to improve his apples, and had to grow them from the seeds. Hence, they were useless as food due to the small size and bitter taste, and could only be used for making cider. They could have never been used for making pies, as the apple song claims. The cider was actually far more nutritious and safe to drink than the water available in the areas Johnny visited, so by selling his apple seeds to the locals, Johnny actually saved hundreds of lives. So it's possible, probably not, but it's possible that I saw an apple tree that this guy actually planted or somebody planted way back when if you went through Ontario, right? Because there's many abandoned farms or, places with old farmhouses and you can find like old trees growing there and, it's possible. Another interesting element to this, the last trivia thing, one element of the Johnny Appleseed story missing from the film was that John Chapman was a missionary of the new church, popularly known as Swedenborgianism, based on the ideas of the Swedish mystic and scientist Emanuel Swedenborg, 1688 to 1772. The ideas of the movement spread to the United States in the 19th century. Chapman is credited as converting several people during his wanderings, so that was the entire point of his mission, was to convert people to this church. And I did some research about it a long time ago, but I don't quite remember their theology. But basically, I think how it goes is that they feel that Swedenborg was sort of the final prophet, like Muhammad, and he kind of, they call it the third revelation. So the first revelation was, I'm trying to remember, excuse me, so I might not be correct about this, but the first revelation was like the Old Testament. The second revelation was Jesus, and the third revelation, in their opinion, was the writings of Swedenborg. And I think that he kind of wrote them in sort of a trance, so maybe it was kind of like automatic writing sort of things. And there's many wild things that they believed. Some progressive things too, like I believe they were anti-slavery and that kind of thing, which was impressive at the time. But I might be actually, some of those things may or may not be true. Do your own research, but it's like a fascinating aspect of the history of modern religion, definitely. And I think it was super popular at the time. Oh, yeah, and that's why I kind of know a little bit about it, is because William Blake, who was a famous poet, English poet from the 17th, 18th century, he wrote like lots of poetry that you probably know, like Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright, In the Forests of the Night. And he inspired indirectly the Doors. So it's one of those things, the band The Doors, it's one of those things that has kind of a huge influence on modern society, but the influence is really well hidden. So the Doors were kind of inspired by the poetry of William Blake, and William Blake's poetry was inspired by him being a follower of this Swedenborg guy. And even more so, one of the hymns that William Blake composed, I think it's just called Jerusalem, is now, I don't know the melody, I don't remember the melody, but it's a pretty famous melody as well. And this is like very, very normal song that's played in English churches and in English Christianity. So to say that this was a Christian denomination is kind of like saying Mormonism is a Christian denomination. I would say they came out of Christianity, or even the Jehovah's Witnesses. They came out of Christianity, but they weren't exactly Christian. But yeah, sorry for that digression. Back to the movie. Back to the movie. So this is my review of the movie. This is, I think, the last of Disney's anthology films from the 1940s. It's hard to say which of these is the best and which of these is the worst. Personally, I enjoyed this film. I think, unlike others in the anthology series, the art was produced for this specific project. The animation is excellent, especially in the Little Toot section and the Boogie section. Now, the music is a matter of personal taste, but it's all from the 1940s, so if you don't like that era of music, you probably won't like the music in this film. Personally, I really enjoy the music of the Andrews Sisters, so I really liked that part of the film. Now, the classic question, would children enjoy this? I think it doesn't really have a coherent theme, so if you had them watch the sections rather than the whole thing, it probably would be a better experience for them. One interesting note is that we often have this idea that movies or books are of their time, so we can excuse racism or something, some other horrible thing in the movie, but this is the first Disney movie where it mentions Christianity. This shows that the company was acutely aware that the people who watched their films would be of different faiths. But I don't mind the fact that Christianity is mentioned in this film, as it is dealing with the work of a Christian minister, although they did simplify that quite a lot for the purpose of the film. And the whole idea of Johnny Appleseed is pretty simplified for the American imagination. Like, I think if people really knew what he believed, nowadays he might be canceled by the American right. But that's what I think about the film. So now we have a positive review and a negative review. But first the negative one. And it's crazy because they're both from the same year. So usually that doesn't happen. But here's the negative one first. 1 out of 10. A stupid, dumb, and totally dead follow-up to Fantasia. From Chris Bishop, 50,004, May 2006. I was so let down by the lifelessness of Melody Time when I first saw it. I went on holiday in 2000 and I went to a video shop and I chose it over Make Mine Music and Saludos Amigos. This is possibly the stupidest feature film ever made by Walt Disney. If you think about it, Fantasia, a stunningly beautiful masterpiece, was first released in 1940, and Melody Time debuted in 1948, and I would seriously expect to see a decent amount of progress in 8 years. Here are the segments in Melody Time which will never stand up against Fantasia. Once upon a winter time, a man and a woman goes ice skating, and just because he trips her up unintentionally, she rejects him, and the same happens to a man rabbit and woman rabbit. Just plain stupidity, if you ask me. Bumble Boogie, a constantly irritating version of Flight of the Bumblebee, is performed here. Johnny Appleseed, the Holy Spirit, is not here at all, even though Johnny Appleseed is a holy man, and his guardian angel is no Holy Ghost either. Little Toot is a young tugboat who was arrested just for trying to help out, which may distress a few people. Tree is a lifeless follow-up to Bambi, blame it on the samba. Donald Duck and his parrot friend Joe Carioca go to a cafe and find themselves inside the glass cup of water they had been drinking, and that perhaps is the only slightly interesting thing about Melody Time, but then a very silly song and dance takes place. Picos Bill, or Picos, I don't know. I think perhaps I like this one because it kind of takes me to how it was in the Wild West in the 1800s. Sometime overall this film is just dead almost all the way through it. I advise you never to reject Fantasia for this. It's boring. Oh yes, the people who like Fantasia. For me, Fantasia has really great parts, but it is boring. It's a horrible movie. It's badly constructed, and I think if you think Fantasia is better than this, I think you agree with a lot of people, but I disagree. I don't think that Fantasia is better than Melody Time. Or, what? Yes. Is this Melody Time? Yes, Melody Time. I forgot the title I was reviewing, but it's Melody Time. Yeah, I think if you think it's better, I mean, what you think about movies is very subjective, right? Like, you can like one thing and dislike one thing for very, very dumb reasons. So, I don't like Fantasia. Just because I don't like the whole conceit of it. I think some sections, obviously, are some of the best animation that Disney ever produced, but I personally enjoyed this one better than Fantasia. Okay, and here's the positive film, Wondrous Historical Magic from Walt Disney from, wow, that's a hard word to say, Vitolepharis 29, August 2006. One thing children don't have anymore is appreciation for, or even knowledge of, legendary American heroes, whether fictional, exaggerated, or real. Public schools have gotten in the habit of eradicating our founding fathers from American history. Here in this wondrous Walt Disney classic, the magic paintbrush will take us back to the days of Johnny Appleseed, Paul Bunyan, Picos Bill, and others. I'm writing this from fond memory of having seen it 55 years ago. Wow. I remember it well. If me and the wife go to a movie this weekend, one thing is certain. If we successfully choose the very best movie at the multiplex, we will have forgotten it by the next day. Hollywood simply does not make quality movies anymore. Cars? It wasn't bad, but who will remember it in 5 weeks, let alone 50 years? Melody Time was Walt Disney at his low ebb. He would soon regain his reputation with Cinderella, Peter Pan, and Treasure Island. Disney at his low ebb beats the pants off today's Hollywood at their very best. That's so crazy because Cars is now a Disney movie, but I guess it maybe even was at the time of this review. So I disagree with the first review on a fundamental opinion matter. I disagree. I think this is actually a good film. But I disagree with this one because it has so many problems in it. Like the first idea that films were better back then than they are now, and you watched this movie 55 years ago, but you didn't watch it now, so your opinions, I hope, would change in 55 years, and I'm sure there are movies that I watched when I was a kid that I really liked, and I still like and enjoy, like Ghostbusters, Gremlins, love those movies. And then there are movies that I probably liked when I was a kid, like Indiana Jones, And then I watch it now and I'm like, oh my god, it's such a bad movie. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I don't like Indiana Jones. So I don't like that aspect of the review, and also I don't like the fact, like, that public schools have gotten in the habit of eradicating the founding fathers. So, a lot of people think that people who believe in Trump are sort of in a cult now because they kind of deny reality, but the truth is the cult is much bigger than Trump supporters. America is the cult. The idea of America is a cult because there's somebody who's on TikTok that I kind of agree with most of his takes, but he was saying that he was living in Warsaw like 5 years ago or something, and he said the following sentence to introduce it, that Poland is a third world country. 5 years ago in Warsaw, not a third world country. Poland is a European country that has the same standards as other European countries. So, like, I think that Americans have a tendency to really drink the Kool-Aid and really believe in the everything about America, and this comment is kind of connected to that because one, public schools still are teaching uh, the founding fathers and all of that, and the second is it's more complicated than you think because yes, Thomas Jefferson was a great man, but his reputation is very tarnished by the fact that he had slaves and had inappropriate relationships with them, you know. And Johnny Appleseed, yeah, is an American folk hero, but he is not like I said, if the American right, Christian nationalist right, knew about what Johnny Appleseed believed in, they would cancel him because it doesn't match what our or what modern debates are. Like, that's the thing that kind of annoys me about, the modern political American discourse is that they have this feeling that everything stretches in a continuous line back to the founding fathers. But no, like, if the founding fathers came back today, they would have way different takes on a lot of things like slavery, race issues, religion, all of those things. And it would get a lot of them canceled, not just by like the woke left or whatever, but also by the Christian nationalist right, because the way that we speak is very of our time. But anyway, that was my rant about American politics. The movie's okay. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's an enjoyable movie. So, can you watch it with your kids? Yes, but like maybe watch it in sections. So thank you. That is all for me. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Bye.